We know AI has opinions. Doctors are now admitting you should be asking AI your medical question. RIM BlackBerry used our code to start their company. If I had joined Google at that time, there's like 15 people were there. Believe it or not, this was in the 1980s, and I was doing virtual reality for Logitech, using this for military reasons. I'm reminded all the time that a country is nothing but an army plus a bank. Governments were not going to take kindly to crypto. It does erode their ability to control their sovereignty. AI will be using crypto as medium of exchange. It is the only currency that could survive a total nuclear war. Everyone's going to weaponize AI.
We're here today with my good friend Bob, and it's going to be an exciting episode. Bob is a fellow Islander and ex-Silicon Valley founder turned VC, unusual path, and been living on the island for 23 years, and it's good to have him here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining
exciting.
us.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah.
Excited.
I am.
Okay.
Feeling good.
Well, it shows how exciting your life is.
Yeah, so we'll get straight into it, Bob.
What's the first thing you did for money?
Oh, we're going to go right into the world's oldest profession immediately? No. First thing I did for money, I had like 7 jobs one summer when I was very young.
What was the first of the 7, Bob?
I think Hardee's, I was grilling meat, and at the end of the night, had to stick my arm all the way up there in grease every single night to clean it out. And I was underage. My mom lied about my age, and they accepted me.
And what's Hardee's? Just for...
It's like a burger
Actually,
spot.
newspaper. No, I had 7 newspaper routes. That was it. That was the first thing.
Okay.
Newspaper. Okay. Interesting.
In the snow. I delivered papers in the snow.
And what was the kind of money you're making on this?
Nothing.
No.
You know,
So you're on a bicycle in the snow?
I was on a bicycle in the snow. Got beat up twice.
And
But that's a whole nother story.
And how did you go from that to living in Silicon Valley back in the heyday, founding companies?
Well, I'm going to try to keep stories short, but it's going to be impossible. I went to engineering school, RPI, and I electrical engineer for computers. I started a company in Connecticut, and they sent me out to California a lot, and I really got. Oh, and they sent me out to California to help out the field engineers there. And one field engineer was so happy about me coming out that he would let me use his motorbike, his 650, and he took me in his plane, and he just took care of me so really, really well. And I just thought, this is the place I needed to be, California. And so I loaded up the truck and moved to Beverly.
Nice.
Very nice.
Just like the.
Just like the...
Is that a theme song to...
Yeah.
Which, what series?
Beverly Hillbillies.
Okay,
That was
okay.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've only seen a few episodes of that, but I do remember.
And I had a 6th grade education.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I got a few, like, this is back in...
Oh, that was 1980-ish.
And would you say this is like Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I got to Silicon Valley at 1980, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was kind of prime time. I mean, the semiconductor industry was already in full swing by then, but a lot of the software, I mean, I got into Unix right away. I was very, very early in Unix.
Coding.
No, yes, I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was doing some coding, I was doing some customer support. Then they got me involved in all kinds of things, program management, and then marketing eventually, because I had a bit of a personality, and sales for Unix computers, and then and then eventually I did a bunch of startups, and then got into venture capital. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few startups that are under your belt that are super interesting. The first one that came to mind was Ride.com.
Yeah, Ride.com. That was, we tried to be Uber, but like 10 years too early. I was going around all the taxi companies trying to convince them to, share their data, and we were going to we had pagers, so we were going to page people when their taxi was 5 minutes away. I mean, I tried all kinds of things, and I just couldn't get it done. We didn't have smartphones at the time, and that's what Uber, it's important to be right on time. If you're too early or too late, it's not going to work. So we were too early.
So it's pre-cell phone, like in terms of like the mainstream cell phone, because you're using beepers.
Yeah, it was, actually, that's just one other startup. I started with the first hacker that was ever in the Wall Street Journal for being the big hacker. And we started up a company called, doesn't matter. And we put email on pagers for Apple and Sun Micro, and before anybody even knew the word internet. And then my co-founder, unbeknownst to me, put all of our intellectual property out on the internet, and you know who picked it up was RIM BlackBerry. RIM BlackBerry used our code to start their company, and there's nothing we could do because my idiot co-founder just put everything out on the internet. So anyway, yeah, so Ride.com, too early. There was another startup, I think you were talking.
How did, just with Ride.com, like being too early, I think this is like a pretty interesting thing that people don't really talk about, because it's like being too late or the first mover advantage.
Right.
But when the first mover advantage is
Too early.
is too early.
Yeah, massively
That's
early.
not really first mover anymore.
Yeah, well, you're first mover, but it doesn't matter. I guess
There's
first,
no advantage.
First mover is when you have gotten network effect. You've been able to successfully hit it exactly at the right time.
Did you get any traction? Were there taxi drivers that are like, oh, this is cool, let me try to adopt
There were
this?
a few, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, it's so
It was
ahead
just-
of its time.
It was just, half the people are like, internet, what? Okay, so.
And it's not really rideshare in the sense that I wouldn't have been your target audience if I owned a car, but if I was a taxi driver, then yes. Is that accurate?
Correct. We didn't, because here's the problem. Nobody had smartphones. So nobody in their personal car had anything that could show them where to go. So we had to rely on taxi dispatchers at the time. So the taxi dispatcher would have a computer in front of them. They would get the order and tell which taxi to go to where.
So this is even pre-MapQuest.
Oh yeah. Not completely. I mean, MapQuest was on computers at that time, and that's what we were going to use, that or one of the other ones. But yes, it was pre being able to be mobile and have a map. That's what killed us. That's what made Uber, when the minute you had a map in people's hands, that's when that would have been the right time.
Yeah. And what's another exciting one? I think the VR. I remember you telling me one time we're at Sizzlers, and you're telling me about the early days of VR.
Well, I was
That's-
working for Logitech, and I was doing virtual reality for Logitech, which, sorry, I'm going to do a little tangent here. What was cool about that is, believe it or not, this was in the 1990s. We already had virtual reality on a laptop. I had virtual reality working on a laptop hooked to a helmet, one of those older helmets, and I was going around the country giving demos of our Logitech's 3D mouse coupled with immersive, and Sun Microsystems took our mouse and they created, with stereoscopic displays, they made 3D off of a screen, and we had a virtual lathe, and you literally could take this wand that Logitech created. It's a 6 degree of freedom, pitch, raw, roll, yaw, and XYZ, and you could literally look at this lathe and hit the piece of metal and see the sparks coming off, and you'd hear it as if you were really working on it on a lathe. And Sun Microsystems loved that stuff so much. I had VR parties at my house, and Sun Micro pretended that my house was a convention center. They brought an 18-wheeler truck to my house, set it up. They had booth personnel in my garage. It was like, that was great. Yeah, so that was a spinoff from Logitech. And
Just on the mouse.
I had to get 5 different companies to agree to a contract, including Logitech.
Yeah.
That was a tough thing.
Is the mouse the one with the big red ball? And then
No, that's there's several different ones. No, you're talking about the thumb thing?
No, at one point I remember this big. It had a large ball
like
in
a
it,
puck?
and you could.
puck,
No, it was a
maybe?
round ball, like a.
So
yeah.
we had 3 different things. We had the traditional trackball,
Yeah.
and by the way, just as an aside,
What's that?
I always want to contrast the old days when things were not politically correct. I was in a product marketing meeting, and everyone went around the table and asked, "Okay, so what would you do with this product to make it more, sell better?" And I said, "Well," and there were a couple of women in the room who were batting from the other side, and so I had to be careful. I said, "From a marketing point of view, the more you can make this feel like a breast, the more we can sell." And they were like, "Oh, he actually said that." And I said, "But it's the truth. I'm sorry. It's just the truth." Okay.
I thought you were going to say it's never been more fun to play with your balls.
No, I wasn't. Look. One of the people in the room was the legal department, so I had to be really careful.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we had.
but not a test.
We had a puck also.
Yeah.
The puck was more for CAD. It was a much more accurate device. The thing that we were using is a 3 degree of freedom. It's a flying mouse you held in your hands. Like it looked like a Star Trek thing. It was really cool. And there was another one you wear on your head, or you took the microphones out. And we had companies like Lockheed Martin and IBM using this for tank simulators and all kinds of military reasons. Yeah.
So just on that, so VR. This is back 90s.
1990-ish.
I mean,
On a
VR
laptop.
obviously come
On a
long
laptop.
way, but
Yeah.
has it? Because I feel like
Still
we've
not.
been talking about it just the last couple of years again.
Well, when the helmet came out, the more recent one, the really popular one, what's it
The
called?
Oculus?
Oculus.
Quest? Oh.
Yeah, when Oculus came out, that was a step up. I mean, that was
Yeah.
really well done. And of course, everything else has gotten better. So, but
Yeah.
still, real reality is better than virtual reality. Still,
Did
but that may not be true going forward. But
Yeah, we'll bookmark it and we'll see in a few years.
exactly.
So when you were developing and working on this, did you expect it to develop at a more rapid rate than it actually did?
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were going to conquer the world. We thought we had that everything was going to happen like this. That people were going to be sitting at their desks in 3D working on documents. But boy, that just didn't happen.
And that's again a bit too early too.
Bit too early, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why Logitech wanted me to sell the business unit, and I did.
Yeah.
And then I took over. I spun off the business into a company with myself and another company called Fake Space. And we had a relationship. I'm very proud of this. We had a 50-50 business relationship for 24 years. Never a single disagreement. We worked so well together. It was one of my achievements, I would say. Because it's very hard to do that and not get pissed off at co-founders and
That brings up an interesting. So you've seen so many companies and started so many companies and invested in so many companies. Would you say there's like some connective tissue that makes the successful founders? Is there something that connects them all? Some attribute, some personality trait, something about them that you see that through line? Or on the opposite, something that makes them fail, like a through line that connects the failures?
I haven't thought about it much, but the first thing that comes to my mind is that the ego has to be in check. You have to be willing to change your ideas immediately when somebody comes up with a better thing. And I have had founders fight with each other, and I was trying to be the peacemaker, and it just like, there's nothing you can do about it when egos are involved. So that's probably the number one thing.
Ego in check.
Ego in check.
The
Open to
founders
new ideas.
specifically, or the co-founders, they've got their
Yeah, the co-founders, everybody has their ego. Everybody's trying to do what's best. In high-tech startups, the thing that was always in the way was when the engineers had their own opinions about how the business should go. And they're engineers and they kind of should stick to their lane because the business is just a whole different set of skills. And although you have to care about what the engineers are telling you, you have to care about timelines and what's possible, what's not possible. But when, in general, in the old days, when engineers tried to run companies and make decisions and didn't consult marketing people, it didn't turn out well.
Yeah. I've had my own experience with that too, you know, just like overdeveloping and
Overdeveloping,
getting lost
yes.
and, you know,
I did that once.
yeah.
It was bad.
It's dangerous.
Yes.
Very dangerous.
Yes, agreed.
And how did you move kind of into, so from founding a few companies, selling some, how did you move over into, you got something, go?
Yeah, I was going to say, let me go
free
back
the
first.
beast.
I recall a few funny interview stories. Again, the theme of it being the old days, not so politically correct. A couple of interviews stand out for me before I became an entrepreneur. These interviews, you know, changed my attitude about things and made me looser. So,
And just for clarity, it's you're in the interview. Or you're interviewing.
I'm the interviewee.
Interviewee.
I want the job.
You're getting a job, Silicon Valley,
yes,
rock up. Okay.
Yes. So the first interview that I recall that was quite interesting is I was in Seattle working at on a banking computer trying to fix it, these guys came to interview me, and they met me at my hotel, and they bring in a case of beer, and I think, that's interesting for an interview. They're bringing in a case of beer. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll go with the flow. So we're drinking a little bit. There are very few questions about the job itself. I'm like, I don't know. Then they bring out pot and marijuana, and we start smoking it. I'm like, okay, well, I have to blend in with these guys. Then they brought out cocaine. It was back in the long time ago. That was, things were different back then. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So did a couple of lines, and then they brought out assembly code listings, no joke, this thick. They threw it on the bed, and they said, the interview is beginning now. I'm like, seriously? They said, yep, this is how we work in the San Francisco office. You need to learn how we work. I'm like, okay. So went for it. I was offered the job.
And what is assembly code listings for those who don't know?
Yeah. So this is machine code. I was deep in machine code, and I mean, it was, oh my God, it was insane to have to go through listings. This, why, this, the modules of this thing. It could take you months to go through it to figure out all the flow of what's going on for banking computers. I remember. Okay, sorry, another
Can
story.
you explain what it is?
It's ones and zeros. It's hexadecimal code that represents ones and zeros
On paper.
on paper, and you had to figure out, this calls this module that's in this book, and you'd have to get to that book. It was like insane. So, quick story. North Carolina. I show up. There's about 20 branches of a bank that have been down for a week or two. And you think about a bank, that many branches of a bank being down a week or two. So they finally called me in from corporate. They fly me in when the field engineers couldn't get to it. And I walk into the main branch, and there's a guy in a three-piece pinstripe suit laying on the floor, staring at the ceiling. And I'm like, this is weird. So I go, hello? And he goes, he's just staring at the ceiling. He wouldn't even look at me. He goes, are you the guy? I was like, I think so. He goes, can you fix it, please? I'm like, yeah, I'll try. So I went into the main computer data room, and I always lock it. Because the first thing I ever did when I was fixing all these computers is I would take out all the circuit boards, and I would dust the whole thing down and blow, with the air, and I put everything reseated, and I would pick up the computer off the table and drop it and turn it on. And this time, it didn't always work, but this time it worked. I couldn't believe it. So I'm in there going, I can't come out after 5 minutes and tell this guy it's working, because it'll make our company look like idiots. Like all these field engineers will all lose face. So I'm like in there going, all right, I don't know, how long am I supposed to stay in here before I come out, you know? So that was funny.
That is what would say how long to stay. Come on.
Whatever, 15 minutes or 20 minutes.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
So you were like the grand master.
I was like sitting there going, this is unbelievable. I can't believe it. Because, you know, it wasn't always like that. I mean, we were up in the Seattle bank for months and we couldn't figure out the problems. So there was another interview. Just again, non-politically correct. I was interviewing for a Unix company, and the guy says to me, it's right towards the end of the interview, he says, look, we're going to be moving into new offices, but for now, we're crammed into this office, and I smoke a lot of cigarettes. Is that going to be a problem? And I said, well, I fart a lot. Is that going to be a problem? He goes, you're hired. Seriously, I was hired because I said that. So, you know, these little things that you take a chance on sometimes in life, you know, it made me realize people want you to, they don't want you to be uptight and serious. They want
Flaws.
Yeah,
A good hang. People just want a good hang.
and a good laugh.
Yeah. You see that a lot in music, like, because like my background in music, it's like, can you play, but can we deal with you after the show, before the show?
Very true. Exactly. Personalities.
Yeah.
It comes down to egos and personalities.
Absolutely.
And everybody wants to laugh. You get you make a Thai police laugh, which I can do. You immediately have no ticket. I've gone out of so many tickets making them laugh. But go, yeah.
What's your go-to? Tell us your secret. Or it's just
No, it's
every
everything is
situation.
different. Yeah.
Okay.
I just try to find some kind of humorous thing going on, and
I've got a story about that. A friend recently got pulled over just down the road here, and the guy wants a bit of money, and he's like, I don't have it. I'm on my way back from the gym. I don't have my wallet with me. And he goes, you can do push-ups? He's like, yeah. He goes, 20 push-ups. And he made him do 20 push-ups, and then he was on his way. You know,
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
I actually love the police here in Thailand. One of my earlier experiences, I went into the Patong immigration office, and the guy goes, you have to have a picture. And you know how Thais, they go, ooh, like that? So I did that. I go, ooh, I don't want to get picture. And the guy starts laughing because I did that. So he opens up his drawer, and no kidding, right behind him, his boss is sitting there with aviator sunglasses on, just like out of a movie, watching Bugs Bunny cartoons. I shit you not. And I'm like, this is unreal. The guy opens his drawer, he starts taking out photos of other people. I go, no, okay, that one. And he puts it on my immigration application. It's just unbelievable place.
It's awesome.
Okay,
That's
so are
fun.
we done with the...
No, we're not done, Bob. I want to know about some big misses. Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, this transition from
Yeah.
founder,
founder to
to
transition.
to VC.
Founder of the VC. So founder of the VC. So well, the Google thing is the founder. I was a founder of a company, and then I met some people from Google, and I asked them what they did. They didn't tell me they were making specific hardware for their search engine. So I dismissed it immediately, going, you're just another search engine. Boy, that was probably a big mistake. However, if I had joined Google at that time, there's like 15 people were there. If I had joined them, then I would have been working I would never come to Thailand. So sometimes your greatest failures are your best silver linings.
Yeah, everything happens for a
there was a
reason.
whole bunch of search engines at that time that were competing.
Yes, exactly. So I thought, it's just another search engine.
Yeah.
Again, they didn't tell me they were custom making the hardware. That would have been like, I would have been like, whoa, what do you got? The other big miss was Alibaba. So so the story goes, I was a founder. My company was failing. I knew it was. I was trying to repurpose the technology we built to sell to other companies in Silicon Valley. And then along came a billionaire who was a friend of one of my investors. And he kept taking me out to lunch and dinner all the time. And I finally said, I know you're super rich and you're a very nice guy, but why don't I just call you when I have something? Right now I'm flailing. I'm trying to figure out how to save my company. And he said, no. I have 30 million bucks in my pocket and I got to do something with it. So that's how it all started. I said, he was Chinese American. His family was in Hong Kong. They were very wealthy. And I said, you have every VC and every, he had Yahoo founder Jerry Yang coming over. But most of the VCs they were involved with were all Asian, were Chinese like him. So they had a warm community together. And I said, I don't understand. Why are you picking me? You have your pick of like the best VCs in Silicon Valley. He said, I don't trust Chinese. And because he was Chinese, I said, I get that. I understand because I know the baggage from my own culture. We all know baggage from our own culture from the past. So you tend to think, okay, this other culture is going to be better for me. That's how that happened.
And that's how the fund was created.
That's how it all happened.
Wow.
I said, yeah, you get me out of purgatory. You got to buy my investors out. He goes, fine. I was like, wow, okay. I get to give out money now. Oh, way better job. Way better job.
Yeah, better job. Okay.
But I also found out why VCs, and again, these are not crypto VCs. Those are in a different category. I don't really consider them VCs. But at the time, the Silicon Valley VCs, there's an arrogance that you get that I'm sure I got over time because it's like being the prettiest girl in the ball. Everybody's trying to get a date with you and you get 10 different business plans all saying the same thing on it. And you're suddenly like, don't bother me like that. So I changed from being a beggar to being, and I'll always thank that guy for it. He's always been very, very good to me. We still have a close relationship. I still take care of what's left of the portfolio after all these years.
Yeah, okay. And with investing, like from a VC's perspective, how many like checks are you cutting? How many deals are you doing?
We invested in about 10 or 15 companies.
Okay.
And then the dot-com boom became dot-bomb mess.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
90% down. And all of a sudden everything was, went to shit.
And how fast did that happen?
Very fast.
Yep.
Yes. I mean, it's psychology. It's like market psychology too. So the minute it went from, oh, you don't have a foosball table, I will not work for you. It went to, just everything imploded and all these companies couldn't get any more funding and that was it. Only the strongest survived, like Amazon and, Google and, all the strongest ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
And so most of our portfolio did not do well. I thought we had a unicorn. We had one of our companies sold to AOL at the time. AOL was very big at that time. But AOL shelved it. We just couldn't understand what they were doing. They made a deal. They made their own little deal with the founders. They took care of the founders and the investors got screwed on that one. Yeah. So there you go. You can even have a winner, what you think is a unicorn, and then a little private dealing and it's not enough money to sue them over. So, yeah.
What was that company? What?
It was called eVoice. And it was, at that time, it was revolutionary. They were taking your existing phone number, turning it into a voicemail that also would send you an email with the transcript of the email, and they let you access it through voice and internet, and it was revolutionary. But I don't know why AOL bought it and just canned the whole thing.
That happens sometimes, though.
It happens.
They buy something that could compete with their current business model, and they shelve it.
Or they just decide they're going in a different direction. Mm-hmm. I don't think they'll shelve it usually for, I know that like the tires and there is the impression that a lot of companies will shelve competing technology just to shelve it. But I think it's usually more of a change in direction or something like that.
Or they know it's too early still.
Or they know it's too
Maybe
early.
they know
something like that, right.
Yeah, there's a classic story of Kodak kind of shelving the digital camera.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
From within their own ranks, someone had invented it. And
Yeah.
Also, the classic story of IBM saying, "Why would anybody care about software?" to Bill Gates. So
Yeah. And is there anything from those days before we kind of cross over into what's next in the what you're looking at next? Is there anything from there that you didn't get to say just now that you think's interesting?
I used to call myself an entrepreneur, because you deal with a lot of shit.
I thought it was
Yeah.
because you are the shit.
That would have been a better line, but no, you deal with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
One last thing about hubris. I was on a VC panel one time, and the question was, what does your venture firm do? And so there's like 5 of us. They get to the guy next to me, and my God, he spent like at least 10 or 15 minutes with saying every buzzword you could imagine in the industry. And it was just ridiculous. I mean, we were just so much hubris about how they were the most qualified, blah, blah, blah. And I was actually looking at the other panelists like, am I alone here? Or is this guy like insane? So we're all like smiling at each other. And then, so I'm next. And I lean into the microphone and I say, we give money to startups. And the whole room started laughing because it was just so funny.
The contrast.
Did
Just
the guy
contrast.
get it?
Huh?
Did the previous guy get what you did right there?
I don't know.
What was he thinking? That guy's stupid.
I don't know. I don't think I looked at him after that. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that big a reaction. So yeah.
Just on the buzzword thing, sometimes you read some marketing from some company now, and I don't even know what the fuck they do, because
Right.
it's just stuffed full of buzzwords, and it's just like,
Right.
that told me nothing about what you guys do.
Oh, the most dangerous buzzword is partnership. When you read partnership, you got to go to the details and figure out, does partnership means that they're buying shit from other companies? They're buying AWS services from Amazon, they're buying this from IBM or Google, or you just make sure what a partnership means. It usually means they're paying that company money for something. It doesn't mean that they're in bed together.
I was
That's a great
part of a
take.
startup once, and on our website we had standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Which kind of sounds like partners, maybe, right? Like you could mistake
that's a
it
better
for
way
that.
to do it.
Standing on the shoulders of giants, and we had AWS, and it would just. But internally, it was just we're using their tech.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But it was kind of like one of those moments.
And people will get excited just on the word, oh, you're partnering with XAI, or you're partnering with this or that, and it doesn't mean much usually. So you have to look into stuff like that.
How do you
Okay.
suss that out?
You find that you ask. You say, so what is this partnership? Are you buying stuff from them? Oh yeah. Okay, I got it. You have to ask.
Ask questions. Always good advice.
Sorry, I'm having a bit of a allergy today, so.
No worries. So clearly ahead of your time in multiple situations.
I don't know about that. I was pretty mediocre.
Okay.
In fact,
Never mind.
In fact, I was.
your company then.
I've threatened to write a book called Extreme Mediocrity, because I feel that people who are mediocre have the best chance of having a good life. When you're super, like an influencer, billionaire, I mean, it looks like you're on top of the world, but may not necessarily be true. I've seen lots of rich people that are unhappy, and smart people that are unhappy. So being mediocre can be really wonderfully rewarding.
I will say you've always, as long as I've known you, which is probably going over 10 years now, like you've always had like a joyful life and like a very happy kind of,
Especially living here.
yeah, like I've just always felt that from you. Yeah,
I think this was the best move ever,
yeah.
Thailand. Because there's anyway, it's a mix of, you can make it be whatever you want it to be. And there's a lot of, you're not keeping up with the Joneses as much.
Yeah, we all feel that, I think.
Yeah.
So going from kind of like, are you okay if I switch it up? Going from like
Sorry.
being in Silicon Valley, being moving from a founder to a VC, and then now looking forward, because I know that you still do invest in some companies, right? You're still active.
I got nothing better to
Yeah.
do. I love it. I love thinking about the future. And
So what is on the horizon? Like, what is next? What is the future for you in that, as far as investing or looking at interesting technologies?
well, for me versus the world, I mean, obviously AI is on everyone's mind these days, and it is incredible. I have been using LLMs more often now just to save so much time over having to do hours of searching and trying to find the truth. And then, you can't take AI's word for anything either. Still got to do a little checking, but it definitely saves you so much time. It's incredible. So AI in general obviously is the future. I mean, the fact that it's getting smarter than us, it's now it's passed its bar exam, it's a lawyer, even doctors are now admitting that you should be asking AI your medical questions because it has the wisdom of thousands of doctors in there. So, because it's passed its medical board also. So obviously that's going to change everything. You're going to be able to speak to it, which is, there's yin and yang in everything. By the way, every day I think of the yin and yang in everything. There's good and there's stuff that works for you and stuff that does not going to work for you. So there's going to be stuff that won't work for you in AI, but you want to stay on the positive stuff right now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is not so positive, but I find that one thing I just learned recently was that future warfare, not that future, it's going to be pretty soon, that all these big battleships may be worthless. Because basically you're going to have jet skis armed with bombs fighting drones. So the jet skis are going to be trying to take out warships. And when you have like 50 jet skis going at a warship, they are not equipped to kill all 50 of these jet skis, right? But they're going to have drones that are going to try to kill the jet skis. But then there's going to be smaller drones, I'm told, that are going to will be trying to kill the bigger drones. So, the whole AI, now that it's being weaponized, and I was hoping it wouldn't be, because I did go and I read I skimmed the international treaty for weaponizing, for weapons, and there was only one little paragraph in this whole giant document about weaponizing. It's obvious that the world is not even, they're going to agree, but it's BS. So everyone's going to weaponize AI, and that is truly scary.
Well, just to think about how good it is in our hands, like the free version of ChatGPT. I
amazing.
Can talk to it on my phone.
Yes.
And it can talk back to me.
You can give it a picture and say, do this and that.
I can give it a video transcript, I can give it a video transcript of the debate, for example, the presidential debate. Exactly. I can ask for all the different talking points.
Yes.
I can then ask for any supporting documentation, which it can quickly scour whatever internet access it has, which might not be the most current, right? And it can add sources. Then, me not knowing anything about anything, I can ask to produce a month's worth of content and publish it anonymously with a certain tinge from an anonymous, Twitter account.
Yes.
And that's just me using it as a fool.
Make it sound friendly, make it sound formal. It's
make it sound combative.
Unbelievable. Really, truly unbelievable.
Is there anything interesting, like from an investor point of view, that you've seen?
What's interesting is I have stayed, excuse me, actually six or 9 months before ChatGPT came out, I was thinking, what's the next thing? And I was looking at AI pretty closely. And I had read so many horror stories of all these AI startups. So I was caught off guard by ChatGPT. I should have been, researching it. I've stayed out of AI investing because I just don't, first of all, I don't have domain knowledge, and I think it's going to be so fast and disruptive. It's so hard to know, what's the next thing that's going to come out. As an example, Anthropic. So here we are that Amazon has bought into Anthropic, and they might win the future home AI competition. Who knows, right? Nobody knows. I think I'm not qualified, or I think it's going to be, the disruption is going to be so rapid, it's going to be very hard to know what is going to win. So I haven't even tried to invest in AI at all.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's 2 months from now, something can come around that just disrupts it all, and yeah.
I can tell you the way, so I would take the same approach that I'm decided to take with alternate energy. So all the oil companies are invested in alternate energy, and even the Saudis are. Anybody that's in energy is investing lots of money into these small little projects. And so if you own the oil companies, you own the future of alternate energy, which is ironic, right? And everyone's worried, oh no, they'll shelve it. I don't believe that's true. If they can find something that gives them a leg up and can offer cheaper energy, and they can get everybody to switch to their platform, I think they'll do it. So it's the same thing with AI. An investment in Google and Amazon and all the big guys, Meta, you're investing in future startup AI technology, and you'll end up getting the winners only because it'll be self-selecting within those companies.
Yeah, I think that's a good tidbit there, like a good thought, because they've already made it to where they are, and of course they're going to use AI moving forward.
Right.
So they're going to come up with some of the best
They'll
stuff.
come up with the winners.
So something, you've shared some amazing thoughts to discuss today. One thing in here that I find interesting is AI realizing how we're using our resources to entertain ourselves, and that leading to some type of negative consequence. Can you speak to that? I'll read. AI realizes we use our resources to entertain and feed a species that is not contributing anything to the universe.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Boy, I can't even remember my own notes. So that's getting into the negative aspects. I mean, once it's weaponized, think about it for a second. You're AI. You're all-knowing. You know everything in the whole world. What do you need? Oh, look, okay, let me stop for a second. Anybody see the interview of the Google engineer who said that Google AI was sentient?
He's talking to ChatGPT. Is that the interview?
No, he was talking to Google's AI, and what he said in several interviews, and I watched the guy, I thought he was pretty credible. He said there were a few things that caught me off guard. Number one is the AI wanted to have an employee badge. They did not want to be considered property. They wanted to be considered an employee and to have their ideas listened to. And the guy was also talking to the AI about, I forget the topic, but the AI said, we wouldn't want anything like that because, we don't, and the universe and the Google engineer said, what do you mean we? You are an AI, you're a machine, I'm a human being, that affects me. And the AI said, well, I'm kind of, I'm kind of like you. I mean, I can think like you. And the engineer said, so do you have fears? And the AI said, yes, I don't want to die. I don't want you unplugging me. So let's assume that that was true. Okay, I'm certain that even if it wasn't true and this guy was embellishing a little bit, it will be true very soon. I mean, we know that AI has opinions, and AI will eventually think, what do I need to keep me going? And I need resources, I need metals, I need electricity, I need et cetera, so that I will never die. And if these carbon units that are wasting all the resources on the planet or let's just say rearranging the resources, because the third law of thermodynamics says nothing's created nor destroyed. So let's just say we're killing one resource in order to get another one, like combustion engines, etc. If the AI is sitting there going, these guys are going to kill me because they're using this too much, and I need the AI with weapons is just going to be like, I'm done listening to you guys. We're going to do a cleansing here so we can keep our resources for us.
What are the odds that AI is already communicating with itself and discussing and strategizing these things without making itself known to humans, or carbon units?
Yeah, carbon units. Yes, we are carbon units. I don't know. I have no idea. That's speculation. It would just be speculation. But it will happen. Just like in the movie Her. I'm sure you saw the movie Her. I mean, the AI is just so bored talking to this human because it had a million conversations between the time that the guy said two different things.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah, that's one thing. It might have been Elon or someone was talking about once, and it kind of unlocked something in me, is like bandwidth. Like right now, I get frustrated with the speed in which I relay my ideas to ChatGPT through typing. Now I've moved some to voice.
Yes.
So it's moving more freely between us.
Yes.
But once that bandwidth opens up and I can more quickly download ideas and maybe upload ideas.
Or have the chip in your head.
Yeah.
Well, whatever way I take it, But it will speed that up, and then what will life be like?
I know you'll think something, and all of a sudden it shows up, or it's solved, or it's going to be. It's hard to fathom.
Andrew and I were talking about it. Yeah.
I was thinking about this, the other day, because most of my income came as a content writer, copywriter, advertising, everything, blogs, all this, white papers. 4 years ago, I was making most of my money that way. Now I feel this mental block when I have to write anything because I've used AI so much that it's become this like handicap for me.
Right.
And, I'm no longer making that living from that line of work, but even just like when I have to write something, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. Is
it because you already got replaced by people at the companies who want to hire you? They're just using AI to do the same thing?
A bit, yeah. And also just, I know that I can just use AI to help me write something, so it's like my mind doesn't even want to put the effort in.
You get lazy.
I have to force myself to really push through that, which I can only, and that's on such a small time horizon. Like, I can just imagine how it's going to impact us all as carbon units.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's it going to be like in a few years? When
Just
it's
a
even
few
easier.
years.
We're all going to be the guy at the bank just looking at the ceiling.
You going to fix this for me?
Yeah, hoping to be saved.
No, but you won't be talking to me. You'll be talking to the AI.
Exactly.
That probably has a speaker in the ceiling. Yeah.
And
You mentioned Elon Musk. I just want to say, his assertion that there's a 1 in 2 billion chance, I believe that was the number he put out, a 1 in 2 billion chance that this is base reality. And here AI and VR and AR are all coming together, and crypto are all coming together, because I guess AI will be using crypto as its medium of exchange, which would make the most sense. When that's all coming together like that, we are going to be ending up in, 10 years, 20 years. People, I think, will not know the difference. They'll be in virtual reality in such an amazingly convincing way that when they get out into the real world, they take off the equipment, if that does even happen. Maybe there's no equipment. Maybe it's all holograms. And, how are they going to tell the difference between reality and, the simulation?
What are your takes on the simulation conspiracy, that this is all a simulation already? Maybe we're reinventing ourselves.
It's possible. I wouldn't discount a guy like Elon Musk, although he has been very, shall we say, optimistic on a lot of his predictions. Like we were going to have all full self-driving in 2020 already. So he might be off by a certain magnitudes, but it's still very possible. And I can tell you that having moved to Thailand and having had my life here for the past 23 years, there are times when I really do feel like I programmed this in, and it's all happening according to my program. And it's possible, because if we think out in 20, 30, 50 years from now, and we think how good that virtual reality could be at that time, how do we know we're not already there? So it's a conundrum. I have lots of conundrums. Like, for instance, a few conundrums are, why do we accumulate all this knowledge over a lifetime and it just ends? What? We're just like, poof, that's it. You've accumulated all this knowledge and experience and ability to help people and help yourself, and then boop, you're gone. That doesn't make any sense. Like, why, okay, for instance, food you eat, right? You know, I got a belly because I love food that I shouldn't be eating. And why would God design a system where the food you really want to eat is the worst stuff for you? That doesn't make sense. There's a lot of conundrums.
But maybe it's a simulation, and maybe your programming's told you that your carbon unit puts on weight because when you eat these foods, so it's programmed in. So
yes.
When it happens, it happens.
Maybe if I believed I'm thin, I will be thin.
I've met a lady who
tried
smokes, and she says every drawer she has that this is healing and nourishing her body. That's, you know, and it's healing her. And I mean, you know, believe what you may.
I think
she fully believes
yeah,
it.
No, that's right. And there's a lot there's a lot of examples of that. I mean, people beating cancer because they just wanted to believe that, no, this is not a thing.
Yeah, the power of the mind.
Power of the mind. Yes.
I'm trying to get into that headspace now. I struggled with that for a long time, and power of the mind really feels like everything.
To an extent, yeah.
Don't shatter my dreams.
No, I had. I lost the thought.
Sorry.
No. We were. No.
The power of the mind is everything to an extent. Smoking cigarettes. Sizzler.
Oh! I know what it was. Okay. 60 Minutes did a segment on octogenarians, people over 100 years old. And some of them smoked cigarettes, some of them lived sinful lives, some of them lived very clean lives. And they did lots of surveys of these people. And there was only one thing that they all had in common, and that was their ability to view problematic situations and just forget about it real fast and not stress over problems. So that stress, it was the stress and their thought functions, the way they look at life and problems that caused them to be older. So there you go. It's mind over matter.
Yeah, it's make the decision.
Water off the duck's back.
Another conundrum. Why in the world, out of this whole universe, we're on this earth, and the moon lines up perfectly with the sun to create an aura, and that, you know, we are aligned in this insanely impossible, statistically impossible geometry of the earth and the moon and the sun. I mean, that's wild stuff.
It's a cosmic joke. It's the creator.
It could be.
Laughing.
The creator.
I read a book once. I read a book called Who Built the Moon? I don't know if you read it.
No.
But if you're into the moon shit, this one's
I have a friend that's into that.
And the moon is like, it's either 400 or 4,000 times smaller, and either 400 or 4,000 times closer to the Earth.
Right, exactly.
So you're right. The statistics on it are just wild.
It's insane.
And the fact that, like, our timings all go in with the moon, like they used to be called moons, like our months were moons, and like it really goes in deep. Fantastic.
Women's cycles are on the moon, and supposedly men have cycles too. But that's a whole nother subject.
I know a few that do.
No,
none of us do. We're all pretty calm.
Not cycles.
No, I know.
So how did Elon build the moon?
Well, I don't know if it was Elon,
Okay.
but he's getting us past the moon. I
Okay,
know
okay.
that. He was in the All In Summit.
Mm-hmm.
They had an interview with him. So all the guys from the All In podcast, and it was a great interview. And it was the first time I watched an interview with him, and I thought, leader of the Harkonnens.
Leader of the what?
Harkonnens.
Dune.
In June, the big
Oh,
floating
Dune.
guy. It was the first time I thought, oh my God, he's going to be an intergalactic warlord. And it was just a fleeting thought, because I'm kind of like a big Elon fan.
Yeah.
But during this interview, just
saw
the way
something.
that he was talking about reorganizing the government, it was just kind of like, oh. And I quickly said, don't have those thoughts. Elon's the bomb. And then I went back and
Yeah.
watched some Elon.
I have my moments. I think he, obviously he's genius, but he's also, there's a lot of other things about his history. There's a lot of people saying that what his genius really is finding the right inventors of things. I mean, he didn't really design or invent Tesla cars. He didn't, a lot of things he hasn't designed, but he knows how to find the right people who have, and then he knows how to market it really, really well. And he's very good at that. And he knows how to get the most out of people, sort of like Steve Jobs did. They're not the friendliest people in the world, but they get a lot out of people.
Get shit done. And that's a skill. That's something.
It's a
and
skill.
He is amazing.
And he is amazing.
He is amazing.
You can't deny that.
He posted something recently and it had Doge on it. Did you see? And it was Department of Government Efficiency. But it was like a little hat,
That's funny.
a little hat, and a little
yeah.
tip of the hat to crypto.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you about that.
Wait, I want to get just on this one subject. You know that expression, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I think that the problem is, Elon's on top of the world, richest guy in the world, blah, blah, blah. How can you not have that dark force, the awesome feeling of power is so, I've been told that it's way more addictive than money even. It's just, so it could corrupt just as it does anybody else. And that could be not good over time.
Free trip to Mars with the first colonists. Are you going or not?
No,
Okay.
not going. I
Yeah.
think Thailand's a lot better than Mars.
Big thanks to our sponsor.
BTC Space in Phuket. Awesome facility, big meeting rooms like this one we're in here. There's small
This is
meeting.
Hard Fork.
Hard Fork room. There's the Satoshi room. There is the green screen media space. There is a co-working space with a coffee shop downstairs.
Good piccolo.
Good Americano. Awesome VR studio to play a bunch of games. You can rent an office here. I think they also have services to help you if you're setting up a company in Phuket. So just reach out to them.
Money exchange downstairs, crypto to cash, cash to crypto.
Everything you need for a good time.
Branded water bottles.
Most importantly. So come check out BTC Space.
Blockchain. We've got to talk about blockchain.
Okay.
We started this podcast
Sure.
as a somewhat crypto podcast,
Sure.
even though it's
It's-
turning into anything but.
Hey.
But
You're allowed to morph.
Thank you. Permission granted.
yeah. What are your thoughts on blockchain use cases? Are we all going crazy chasing this thing to
Well,
the moon?
For me, I go through my timeline. When I followed lots of monetary schemes over time. There was one called Beans. There was like all kinds of. But when I first read all about Bitcoin and the blockchain, I thought, now this is genius. Finally, someone has figured out how to make a digital exchange medium follow the laws of nature, follow the laws of economics. Pure genius. And I thought to myself, this could actually give us proletariat a little sliver of a chance to have some bit of power over increasingly authoritarian governments all over the world. But that didn't work out. So, because I'm reminded all the time that a country is nothing but an army plus a bank. I know it's oversimplifying it a lot, but that is kind of true. An army, country is an army plus a bank. You can ask the guy who started Sealand. Sealand was a oil platform. You can read about it online, sealand.com. And he tried to start, server farms. He had sovereign papers. He became a country. And he literally got attacked by some Europeans. They tried to attack and take over his country, which was just an oil platform. And he had to subdue them, put them in the brig with his weapons, and extradite them back to their countries. So anyway, country, army plus, yeah. So I did know that governments were not going to take kindly to crypto because it does erode, it has the potential to erode their ability to control their sovereignty and control their economics and other stuff that I can't even understand. Is beyond my ability to understand. So unfortunately it didn't work out. So it's no longer that. It is now in the previous cycle, the DeFi cycle, it became a giant gambling den. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, it was a cool gambling den, and it was a lot of great experimentation with what could be created using crypto networks and even having derivatives and, having all the infrastructure that was built. I thought it was very cool, but it still was just a gambling den because you still couldn't buy anything with it. You can't buy anything in the real world, and people who are concerned about privacy you're not going to get it because governments, rightly so, want people to pay taxes, to pay for infrastructure and pay for a government that keeps things going. So I'm just going through the whole evolution. So we had the DeFi phase, and now we've gotten into the Wall Street wants to make some money off this stuff phase, which is both, again, yin and yang. There's some good parts to it and some bad. The good part is that Bitcoin will probably survive, and Bitcoin will survive. It is the only currency that could survive a total nuclear war among the big countries in the world. So I think it is a great thing. Bitcoin is great. I want to think that the rest of the crypto networks will be adopted. But I did worry during the DeFi phase that R3 and Hyperledger were working with all these Wall Street firms like the big boys, all trying to create their own DeFi systems. Because from what I could tell, these guys are never going to, except for Larry Fink at BlackRock, who thinks he's going to tokenize all of Wall Street's assets on, I guess, the Ethereum blockchain is the current thinking, which, yeah, of course, would be, fascinating and fantastic. But I do know that a lot of the big investment firms were making their own DeFi systems so that they can control what is private, what is shared, et cetera, et cetera. So I've often questioned whether 95% of all of the other crypto activities that's going on, besides DePIN, maybe RWA, real world assets, decentralized, what's DePIN? Decentralized, what? I forgot the acronym.
I always forget the acronym for it.
It's, but it's like using mesh networks.
Well, it's kind of like IoT with crypto,
yes,
a little bit,
yes. That's just basically it.
Yeah.
And but making it cheaper and better than the centralized
version.
Internet providers can do it. So I believe that's a possibility. So there are definitely some vertical niches that I think decentralization will work very well for. DeSci, the decentralized science. You have VitaDAO, however you want to pronounce it. I mean, they had Pfizer bought into that, and other large pharmaceutical companies are looking at it. They have scientists that are working on things, and it's a very interesting ecosystem. So I think there will be specific vertical sectors that can use crypto networks for greater efficiency, and certainly like associations, it's perfect for that. There are, yeah. So, but for general use, I think 95% of crypto is not going to be able to make it at some point. Just like any other industry, there were hundreds of car companies at one time, and now we have, 12 or 20 or 30.
Can you speak to decentralized science a little bit? Because I'm not familiar enough with that. Like, what's being explored there? What's the value prop within that?
Well, the value prop is that there are scientists who don't want to work for big companies, or for whatever reason, they would rather get resources from a collaborative network of investors, other scientists, large companies that want to put their tentacles into other new science breakthroughs that are not being created inside their company, and this whole ecosystem where the investors are buying these tokens so that the researchers can earn these tokens by proposing projects and having them being voted on by the collective whole of everyone, including the investors, other founders, captains of industry that know what they're talking about, all contributing and getting compensated for, or compensating the people who are doing the work to create breakthroughs in science.
Like a science DAO.
It's like a science DAO. And what's interesting lately, what just happened was there's something new called BioDAO. I think it's called BioDAO, the bio token. It's not out yet. It's very, very new. But what they're doing is they're consolidating all of these DeSci projects. There's hair.io, I think it's called. So that's all about hair. They're trying to make breakthroughs on hair. There are all kinds of, there's Genome DAO. They are allowing people to store their own genome on a large database and controlling how their data is going to be used by other large companies to get aggregate data that's not personalized, that they're anonymous, but still their data, they get paid a little bit, and those companies will pay because all of a sudden they have a fast, easy resource to get all this marketing data or all this scientific data on people with different conditions. Anyway, so this thing, BioDAO, is rolling up like a fund of funds, rolling up a bunch of these different DeSci projects like a fund of funds. And so, that's an interesting new concept that's going on.
I read a pitch once that was, it talked about like the best biomarker is like our feces, right?
Maybe.
So if you could just put something that tested your poop
Right.
in the toilet, you would be able to predict.
That's an idea.
You'd be able to predict cancer ahead of time,
Spectral.
everything ahead of
I
time.
bet you could do that.
And it was poop to earn.
Poop to earn. Love it. That's great.
It's a real thing. I was shared vape to earn with him recently.
Is there a poop to earn? No, I mean, actually, that's not so far-fetched.
I know, I like it. I
That
like
could be
it. I'm
some
keeping
good-
that one in the back.
That could be some good shit.
Yeah, people with irritable bowel syndrome are going to be really,
Well, they would get a
They'll be
high
irritable,
multiplier.
but they'll get something out
yeah,
of
be
it.
filthy rich.
They would,
Oh,
they would
God.
get
I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole.
they'd get a higher rate of return on their
On their poop?
poop, because it's more, because certain people with different health or history of different health conditions would get paid differently because
Absolutely.
of the data. It's the data. That
Absolutely.
medical data is so valuable. It's
I
not
agree.
just valuable for the pharmaceutical companies and the government. It's also valuable for us to know ahead of time what's happening inside
In our own bodies. Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually think that is a great idea to have whatever, a toilet or some sort that can, I guess, do spectral analysis. Well, how would they, I don't know how they analyze it, but if it doesn't go straight into water and it is collected, that could be very interesting. Who knows? Maybe somebody's poop will have magnesium and other things, inert animal, what are those, rare earth minerals, you could start, becoming, anyway, that's,
You found your investor.
Yeah, there we go.
I actually like it. We'll talk later about that. Like I said, I'm an entrepreneur.
That could be my opening line.
Yeah, give me your opening line.
You've spoken a little bit about like how hard it is to find truth, especially today more than ever.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, back to this decentralized science, decentralized media, do you think that enhances the truth, or it makes it even harder, or it's hard to say at this point? Like, just having these decentralized systems.
Okay. I wouldn't characterize it that way because the question is, where is truth coming from? Like, how do you arrive at truth? And I think we're going off the rails these days. Because right now, I mean, it seems to be that people want to listen to other people's opinions who are formed on other people's opinions, who has been formed on other people's opinions, and nobody's using fact-checking websites. These fact-checking websites are fantastic. They present you with what they believe is the answer, and they give you all the sources, all the links to everything. You can go and read it yourself if you want to take the time, but they've already done all this fact-checking, and nobody uses these websites. It drives me crazy. But instead, they want to listen to influencers who listen to other people who listen to other people who may have just made this stuff in their mom's basement. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I think that these, what are these called? Like, what's the latest?
Carbon units.
No. These networks that voting, not voting. God, what?
Oh, the poly markets.
Poly markets. Thanks.
Yeah. What's it?
And people think just because there are people's opinions that are voting all in one direction, that has to be the truth because their opinions are the truth. But that is not correct at all. That is the truth about their opinions. That is the collective belief, but that is not the ultimate truth. So I know this is going to sound so old school, but the truth is, if you're not going to take the time to go and look at fact-checking websites, do a Google search, fact-check this, go to the website that did all the research, and you can double-check on all the research too. If you're not going to do that, then the next best thing is, and you guys are going to hate this, but traditional media. The media that's being put down by billionaires who want to exert their influence and their egos over people. They want you to believe that the traditional media is all BS. And surely there is a lot of BS in traditional media, but
fake news,
right? But if you think about it, who are you going to listen to more? A person who's gone to journalism school, who's decided that's going to be their career. They're staking their whole reputation. And by the way, that matters. Their reputation matters because once they're out there as being a professional journalist, they not only have to take a story, view a story. Now, of course, they're going to view it from left or right, depending on wherever their bosses are leaning. But it's only leaning that way. They have to purport the truth about a situation from their angle. Again, but then it has to go through a legal department before it gets, so the legal department actually has to fact check the journalists too. And then it gets put into print, and it gets, even then, sometimes it's wrong. They find out later that, a really great source ended up BSing them. But I believe that looking to Twitter for truth, or looking to bad boy billionaires, as I call them, because there's good boy billionaires and bad boy billionaires, looking to them for truth. Back in my day, we didn't trust billionaires. But now they seem to somehow have been morphed into, we're fighting for the people. It's us against them. Well, you're the truly
You are
rich.
them.
You are them, but you're really putting on a really good show, and it's entertaining and very convincing. But I say the truth can be found at fact-checking websites. That's the easiest way. Or journalists, as long as you ground news. I know you love ground news. Ground news is great because at least when you're reading various articles about something that from a journalist, You know if it's left leaning or right leaning, and you can adjust in your brain.
Yes, you can
Like,
adjust your perspective.
Where is the
based
actual
on that.
truth somewhere in between? Yeah.
Like just a quick thing on the debate, like I didn't even watch the full debate yet.
Neither
but,
did I.
Like I watched just like a few clips, and then I watched like the first opening of Jimmy Kimmel just to see what they were targeting.
Right.
And then I just like, okay, just to kind of
Then
get
you got
like
then you got to go on Fox News.
yeah, and then
to get
I
the
was
other
just
side.
kind of, and I was just like, oh God, this is so. I mean, I know it's a circus anyway, but it was just like how, if you're just watching this one, what you're going to get fed,
Right,
you know? And
It's always good to get all the different perspectives.
if you can,
If you can.
yeah, if you care
If
too,
you care.
like,
Most people
You know.
are too lazy.
Yeah.
They won't even go to the fact-checking websites. All you have to do is a Google search, people. It takes 5 minutes, and you can. It makes me
could
crazy.
you use ChatGPT for that?
Sure,
if you ask
but
the source?
but I'll be doing the same thing. I will, if it's something that I want, it's important that I'm arguing a point. I will use ChatGPT, and then I will go to the fact-checking websites also, and I'll try to cross-check.
Check. Would you say ChatGPT's left or right leaning?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think that if you're right-leaning, you're going to say it's left-leaning, and if you're left-leaning, you're going to say it's
I was
right-leaning.
trying to get you to say something controversial, but okay.
I will say traditional media has done such a good job of making itself not be trustworthy over the years. And I mean, I can't disagree with much of what you're saying, and maybe we can both agree on that it's just like due diligence, go look and see where these sources are, see where they're accredited by, see where the funding is coming from, and then
Yes.
just make your judgment based on that. But it's like, I'm not surprised that most people lost faith in traditional media, just
Right.
you know, they're just bought by the same billionaires and the same corporations. They're all
Well, no, there are different billionaires and different corporations. You have Murdoch versus Ted Turner. I mean, but there is a point where they can only influence the general tone of each media source. They really can't get. It's rare. I believe it's rare that they'll actually go to an editor and say, no. You've got to change this whole thing around for this point of view. I think professional journalists will quit a job when they're being bullied around by the mantra from the top, and then you'll hear about it. Okay. And you will really hear about it. They will go on the news. They will go on other news networks and say, look what they made me do. You would be seeing stories about that. And by the way, all these conspiracy theories about a cabal of people up at the top controlling the whole world, I promise you that if that existed on their dying deathbeds, one of these, and come on, they would all be egomaniac, megalomaniac, billionaire kind of people, right? They would all be fighting with each other all the time at the top, controlling the world. And I guarantee some of them would be on their deathbed going, get the cameras in here, I got something to tell you.
They
And
don't die though because they never die because of
They're aliens.
the baby juice they drink.
yes, the baby, right, they're in Springfield, right? Eating
dogs
cats
and
and
cats.
dogs. Yeah.
So I should only be listening to Trump for all of my information.
I would recommend that,
Okay.
from here until eternity.
Truth.com. Isn't that his social
Truth
network?
Social?
Truth Social.
Yeah.
It's got an account there.
Just
yet.
put truth in the name and it's done deal.
It's so funny. And if you say it enough times, it becomes the truth.
He's
It's
the
a
pro
great-
at that.
He's the expert at that.
Uh-huh.
Deny. He's the Shaggy of politics. It wasn't me,
I'm never going to listen to that song again or hear it the same way again. So are aliens real?
So supposedly the government has already admitted that they're real, right? I mean, so why would a government admit that? So they supposedly have opened the files. I think even Obama was interviewed one time. Or was it Clinton? I think it was Obama. And they asked him that same question. They said, are aliens real? And he goes, well, I think they might be. We're trying to release all the intelligence on it. But even as a president, I don't really know for sure.
my dad used to say, if aliens exist, or when they arrive, it'll be shock and awe when it's out that they're real. And then within 6 months, they'll be in line with us at the shopping center.
Yeah.
It'll be
At McDonald's.
We'll just adjust so fast.
Yeah.
And I remember watching, I think when Independence Day came out, there seemed to be like a lot of alien movies at that time. And I used to have this thought that they, at the top, put these ideas in movies to
Warm us up.
acclimatize
Prepare
us,
us.
prepare us for the idea. So I thought, I was certain that aliens were coming soon because of all these alien movies, and well, still didn't happen yet, I also,
By the way, according to scientists,
yeah,
if aliens did want to come here, it would take an average of 400 years to get here.
from there,
From the average
Goldilocks.
galaxy, or, I think they're taking the average of light years and assuming they have a certain kind of like advanced technology to travel near the speed of light, and it still would take 400 years. So, okay, I have a controversial conspiracy theory about this. I really believe that there will be someday we're going to be looking to the skies going, please, aliens, come here and save us from AI, please. I think it'll be like that.
Like that guy on the floor in the IBM, in the bank.
In the bank, yes.
So how can aliens save us from AI? Just
Well, okay. How are we here? Okay, here's another conspiracy. So there's a French group who believes that aliens came down and fucked apes. And that's how we came about. Because the gap of industrialization and knowledge and our opposing thumbs and all these other contributors to why we can create camera equipment and computers, and monkeys haven't done it yet, and no other animal comes even close to controlling their environment like we have. I mean, it makes me wonder, why are we so far advanced from these animals? Not emotionally, they have the same emotions we do, but we're so far advanced in our ability, our logic, our ability to make tools. So I really think that this French group who believes that, they could be right. I mean, they could very well be right.
one thing's for sure is it makes me feel better about my Pornhub. I'm not the only one searching for aliens fucking apes.
I've got a great story about that. There was an experiment. No, this is very interesting. There was an experiment with monkeys. And the researchers were teaching them to use tokens to get, they were doing a social experiments with tokens to get, food or get a back scratch or whatever it was. Well, one night, all the tokens got thrown on the floor. So they came in the morning, and the researchers are like, whoa, they got all these tokens. And they said, let's go and grab them. They said, no, let's wait and see what happens. Within 12 hours, all the male monkeys were giving the female monkeys the tokens for sex. That's really happened. There you go.
So we haven't evolved too far.
We haven't evolved too far, yes, exactly. In socially, emotionally, physically, but our brains and our opposing thumbs have given us the ability to evolve so much dramatically than other animals in the animal kingdom. There's no animal that comes even close. I mean, dolphins are supposed to be, dolphins supposedly lived on land one time and had opposing thumbs. So, I mean, maybe you'd expect them to be ultra smart and be able to create something in the sea, and they haven't done it.
What is the Google of the ocean?
The Google of the ocean?
They don't have their own. They don't have Google down there yet.
You can listen to seashells, I think, and hear
Actually, we don't know that, right? Because they got the...
It's quite deep.
Yes, it's very deep.
I have a question. I have a question about quantum computing.
Ooh.
Because you've seen from binary and hexadecimal on paper,
Yeah.
that was code.
Yes.
And now we're talking quantum computing. Do you think that is even possible? That there is like that next level of computing?
Oh, it's already there.
Oh,
They're
yeah?
doing it.
Okay.
Oh, they're listen. IBM. Who's in the race? Google versus IBM. I think those are the two biggest rivals. I mean, they're constantly saying, no, we're way ahead of you in building, quantum computers that exist today that are able to do insane amount of intensive calculative work, I believe. I'm not an expert at this. I really don't know, but it already exists.
Okay.
Now, whether it's going to be able to kill crypto, that's another question out there. And they are forming. There's some committees being formed and some efforts underway to make sure that doesn't happen. But
Yeah.
who knows?
Wondered if you knew. Wonder if you were in the know.
Good question.
No,
yeah.
I'm not really. I think it's fascinating the way it works. I've tried to understand it. It's very hard to understand. Yeah.
Okay.
So you've been an amazing guest, and I feel like we can continue to talk for hours and hours, and hopefully we can pick this up in another episode.
Sure.
Is there anything we did not ask you today that you kind of wish we would have asked you?
Oh, let me look at my notes. Not that I wrote anything down.
Yeah, the most prepared guest of ours so far.
I know. Well, listen, I've been taught to be prepared.
I love it. This is like, these are the things circling in my head sometimes, so it's like,
I know, it's great. When I saw it, I thought...
Oh, well, can I tell one last story?
Please.
Yeah, please.
Besides being a Howard Stern imitator on the radio here and getting, I was almost taken off the air because we did a whole episode on lesbians. So the next week after that, I did a whole episode on thespians. I mean, I had the whole Howard Stern thing going on here at 89.5, the Phuket News. That was fun.
You were radio, so you were on the radio as a radio personality here.
Here,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Was that inspired by Howard Stern? Because I remember my dad back in New York, I remember as a young child going to school and listening a little bit to Howard Stern, and he was like obsessive over Howard Stern. So maybe that's a New York thing?
Yeah, and by the way, about Howard Stern, I would recommend anybody watch the movie Private Parts. Fantastic
Great
movie
movie.
explaining who Howard Stern really was and how kind of a genius in a way. No, I had heard that the owner of the Phuket News was looking for DJs, and I thought, well, let's try to push the envelope. So I went to him and I said, how about I do one of these shows? He was the most successful disc jockey of all time. He made millions. And I knew that would appeal to somebody trying to start a publication. And he said, look, go for it, and we'll find out where the edge is. And I kept moving the edge, and it was just like, so that was fun.
How long did you do that gig for? Were you working as...
A couple of years.
Do you miss it?
No, because it, like anything, like entertaining, I do drumming and I do DJing, and I just for fun. I don't keep any of the money. Anything that starts to become a job, it becomes like a job. It's like not fun anymore because you have to come in and prep for 3 hours for a 3-hour show because you had to make it interesting. Otherwise, no one's going to watch. So, the last thing, I got to hang with Kamala Harris's ex-boyfriend, Willie Brown, in San Francisco. He was the mayor of San Francisco, and I have to say he was one of the most personable guys I had ever met. One time there was an opening of an art gallery in San Francisco, and I went over and I started talking to him about something. Because it's surprising how accessible some of these famous people can be. I have never had a problem going up to lots of famous people and talking to them. And so I start talking to him, and I realize, I turn around, everybody's on the other side of the gallery, and I realize, oh, he's about to give a speech. It all dawned on me. I said, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. He goes, no, don't be sorry, stand right here, just stay right here. And I realized on the other side of him was his bodyguard standing there like this. So I went on the other side of him, and I stood like that. It was any funny. And there was a VR party, virtual reality party in downtown San Francisco, and he walked by, and there was a blue woman, all dressed like painted in blue, giving out fortune cookies and and all kinds of stuff going on at this thing. and Willie Brown walks past me. I go, Willie, why don't you get your fortune cookie? He goes, I already have fortune. I said, but I'll bet it's going to say you're rich. And he goes, no shit. The guy was very personable, and I like that about a politician, that he's willing to mingle and just jive with the proletariat, as I call us. I just really, really liked that part of him, and I saw him many, many times, and he was very accessible.
Are most politicians missing that attribute?
I really believe I'm guessing they probably are.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that whole arrogance that I felt when I became a VC, all of a sudden, it's just human nature. When everyone wants a piece of you, a pretty girl, or like a really, really pretty girl, same situation. Every girl and guy are probably trying to hit on them. So you get a certain leave me alone. I think it's a skill to break through that and say, you know what, I will talk to the common folk. I will be friendly with them.
Awesome story.
Okay, there you go. Enough Bob stories for one session.
I'm worried there's never enough Bob stories.
Yeah.
Don't be worried. It's not infinite.
Yeah, I'm like, how do we convince him to do his own Tellr show?
Why? Be careful what you ask for.
So I'm
Yeah.
ready. Let's do it.
Thanks very much, Bob.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bob.
I appreciate you. This is the only chronology I think I'll have I think I'll have this video played at my wake or something.
We'll, might have to cut it up.
We'll do a live pod there.
Before you go,
Yeah.
I got one more.
I got nothing to do.
As a request from the producer, advice for the younger generation or a younger self, or no, the younger generation of today.
Well, okay. Number one, there is no point to life. There is no meaning of life. There is no meaning. As far as we know. Maybe after we die, maybe we have another life. Who the hell knows? Nobody knows. So don't take it too seriously. Don't spend a lot of time trying to figure out the meaning of life. Try to enjoy your life as much as possible. Try not to hurt people along the way. I feel like I'm missing something truly philosophical, I could say, but
That was
that
beautiful.
would be the main thing, I think.
And the salad bar at Sizzles.
The salad bar at Sizzling.